Welcome to Tricks University, Trick Splash Training. This topic today is Tadpole Tots. Tadpole Tots class dynamics and other information. We've sort of wrapped this into kind of a bigger package because there's some information that is important to know about the structure of the class because knowing who your student is a good part of knowing how you're going to know which direction to take it. So number one, before coming to class, the ages for the group of tots that we're talking about is aimed at 18 months to 3 years old. Basically for our program, anyone under 3 is enrolled in the Tadpole Tots. There's no real minimum age to participate. The class structure and activities, though, are geared toward children between the ages of 18 months and 3 years old. That's the recommended age range. Children 3 years old are graduated from the Tadpole Tots level into the introductory level for our 3-year-olds called minnows. It's strongly recommended to have them transfer as soon as they are graduated, in other words, as soon as they turn 3, in order to keep them in with their own age set. Kids, when they hit 3 years old, start to become more interested in what's happening with other kids. They are past the 2-year-old dynamic of wanting to be so independent that they really don't want to go along with somebody else's agenda. And so we recommend they move on to the 3-year-old group. Some exceptions are okay, but no child over 39 months should really be in the Tadpole Tots class. That's just getting so old that it would become difficult for the younger kids not to feel intimidated by having such an older student in class. But any exceptions should be done with the manager's approval. The other thing to remember before coming to class, B, is that Tadpole Tots is a parent participation class. So we require one adult per child. Now, even though it's called a parent participation class, we realize that the family dynamic varies from family to family. So if they have a nanny that brings them, or a grandparent that brings them, or another adult relative that brings them, as long as each of those is an adult that's on the, has signed a permission slip, is on the account. Obviously, if they brought them, they are with the student for the class. It's fine for one other adult to participate. It's not okay for it to be an older brother or sister. I've rarely, but occasionally had, mom ask, my kid's got a Monday holiday. Can my 12-year-old take my, toddler in the pool for the class? That's not a good idea. No matter how mature or responsible the 12-year-old is, it's just not a good idea to have them be the substitute parent for class or even to tag along with class. It changes the whole dynamic, and regardless of their intention or maturity level, they almost never participate in the way that's truly appropriate for the class. So it has to be an adult to accompany the child. If both parents want to swim along, that's usually also an exceptional thing. It's not something that I want to happen every class, to have 2 of the child's parents in the pool. So it's better off if they plan on tag teaming. If they're not going to do, mom does one class and dad does a different class, then it should be dad in the pool for a few minutes and then mom in the pool for a few minutes. Okay, C, before coming to class, it's important for everybody to understand our swim diaper policy. All Tadpole Tot students are required to wear a swim diaper at all times, regardless of whether or not they're potty trained. It's the best way to have the most clear and consistent diaper policy. There aren't any exceptions to this rule. It's for the health of our patrons that we enforce this policy. And anyone who's going to argue with that is being unreasonable. Anyone who says, why do we have to wear a swim diaper? Well, because it's our policy so that anybody can say their kid's potty trained, especially if they're at the point where they're just trying to teach their kid to be potty trained. A lot of parents, especially first-time parents, are a little anxious that now putting a diaper on their child is going to make them regress. Some kids, if they're wearing a diaper, it's a habit, right? But on the other hand, it's just not likely that they're going to go in their own mind, oh, now I'm in a swim class, I wear a diaper, so now I need a diaper again all the time. My own daughter, when I started the program, was 18 months when she potty trained, and we put a swim diaper on her every class. Now, we just bought the reusable ones, and so it was a one-time cost for us, and then it's just like a swimsuit, so it was, her swimming was just part of her swimsuit. It wasn't like we said, oh honey, I'm sorry, we have to put a diaper on you now, even though you don't wear diapers. Some parents will try to pull that on their kids, but it's rare. Those parents are the ones that just are not mature enough to really get it anyway. So it's really super important that you just enforce this rule as a gimme. It's given that everybody knows that they're just going to have their child in a swim diaper. There isn't any argument with that. And then if they forget, they can get one from us. We'll provide one for them. And we don't even have to buy them, because customers, once they graduate the class, often donate their old swim diapers to us. And I kind of am open about sharing that, because it kind of keeps the trend going. Other people go, oh, what a good idea. And so we're always perpetually in abundant supply of extra swim diapers. That's helpful for people that come and actually forgot their swim diaper and need one also. When you announce a swim diaper policy, which is prudent to do, it's prudent to do every class, but even if you just do it periodically, make sure you're doing it with your class, because you'll find the people that kind of look sideways or give you the deer in the headlights look. Those are the people that weren't aware of that, or forgot, or thought they could wing it that day without one. Those are the people that you want to try to help discreetly just get their kid into a swim diaper. Along that note, some people confuse pull-ups with swim diapers. A pull-up isn't a swim diaper. They're two different things, although swim diapers are designed in a similar way. Swim diapers are not designed to catch fluid waste. The fluid goes straight through them, because we're not trying to catch pee. Because as a health hazard, urine's not considered a health hazard. It's the number 2 that is the problem. And if the child wears a pull-up to class, the pull-up will swell up because it's got that gel in it that absorbs fluid, and it's going to swell up. If you leave it on, it will burst, and then it's a big mess in the pool. So if you notice a student's swimsuit swelling up, they probably have a regular diaper or a regular pull-up under their swimsuit, not a swim diaper. Please tell the parent they need to immediately change them into a swim diaper and provide them with one if needed, because we don't need that to actually burst and make that kind of mess in the pool. It's a big bunch of gel that gets in the pool. It takes a long time to clean it out. Also note and remember that siblings are never allowed to tag along with class. You don't have an older brother or sister or a younger baby. No one who's not registered for the class can be in the class. Okay, it's one parent and one child, and possibly occasionally 2 parents and 1 child. If they have twins, they need 2 adults. That's just the bottom line of it. One parent can't safely manage and effectively participate in a class with 2 kids. So mom can't bring her 2 twins to swim class. It has to be mom and dad, or mom and grandma, or mom and a nanny, or mom and a babysitter she hires just to go to swim class. Whatever the solution they can figure out, that's got to be the solution, so that there's at least 1 adult per child in class, and that no child who isn't registered or age appropriate for the class should be in the class. Tadpole Tots training, bullet number 2, when they arrive. Okay, we talked about before coming to class, when your student arrives with their parent, among the regular introductions and program and showing where to go, you want to find an opportunity to tell the parent basically about the structure of class being child-directed. Now, it doesn't mean we have a child telling everybody what to do, but kind of, because what you're telling them is their main job is to help their child feel comfortable and confident. We don't want them to force a child into the pool. We don't want them to drag them in too early. We want their child to feel ready to be in the pool. Tell them that it's okay if they just want to hang out with mom, that if they don't want to take a turn with the instructor right away, that's okay. If they don't want to try the activities that we're doing, there are ways that you can show them how to still make useful and meaningful time of their time in the pool, and that you'll help give them guidance about how to keep their child's activity directed toward them eventually learning to swim. But that they want the child to be comfortable and confident, that kids will learn by imitating, that they also, you'll see most of their personality come out, they'll be more willing to try new skills. If they're first helped to feel confident and comfortable, rather than dragged into the skills. If they're dragged into the pool, they drag through the skills, they're always going to have their guard up every time they come to class, and it's going to take longer for them to actually participate than if you just go the other way around. You should, as a teacher, be checking to see that the child's wearing a swim diaper. You should request both the parent and the child to rinse off from head to toe in the shower before they get in the pool. It's actually a state requirement that people shower from head to toe before they get in the pool. You want to allow the Tadpole Tots, you want to be able to allow people to come in, get rinsed off, get their things put away, kind of get their feet wet, get in the pool, just get used to being in the water before you start class. It helps the tots feel more comfortable. They're not as just discombobulated by jumping right in, and they're in the pool, and now they're do this and do this and do that. It's a little better if they can come in and just kind of feel at home a little bit, right? They get familiar with the surroundings, and then they will participate more eagerly. Now, you can allow people to get in 10 minutes early as long as you have a teacher who's able to supervise the class. If you're not able to supervise, in other words, if you have to go out of the pool room, you can't have customers in there if there isn't at least another teacher in there. And what you want to do is train the parents to ask your permission. If you're not quite ready to supervise the pool, for instance, if you are trying to print pictures off the tablet or update numbers or take roll, you're not ready to have eyes on the pool, which you should, even though there's adults in there with the child. Your responsibility is the lifeguard services. So if you're not ready to have eyes on the pool, the parents can't go in yet. So you want to train your parents to check with you every time. Is it all right to get in the pool, coach? Yep, it's all right to get in. Thank you. Or, oh, please wait 3 minutes before you get in, or 4 minutes, or please wait till I let you know before you get in. Or, actually I have to go out of the pool room for right now. So if everybody can come out with me, we're going to lock the door till I can come back, and then they can get in. But as a general rule, you want to be able to be in the pool and have eyes on the pool up to 10 minutes before class. Number 3, the start of class. It's very important to have a few factors incorporated in every class. Number 1, start class on time. Even if you have only one student in the pool, start with who you have. You're going to train your parents to be on time. If you start waiting for the people who just came in to get finished rinse and come in the pool, then you're going to start training people to be late. And the more you train them to be late, the more likely you're going to get complaints that your class is just starting late. Start on time with whoever is there, and then let everybody else catch up. Okay? Begin with a welcoming statement. Hi, everybody, welcome to swim class is a fine welcoming statement. It's important that people feel like there's something about to begin. Okay? And if you're overt about that, then they know class has started. Give a brief introduction to the theme of the week. Okay? This week is Friendship Week, so we're going to do what friends do most. We're going to share. Something like that. Always sing the Teachers in the Pool song at the start of class. It's an official beginning. It is a good point to, it's a good place to make the point that they always want to have a grown-up with them when they swim. Even young kids need to start having that as a thing they should understand and know, that they always take their grown-up with them when they swim. So unless a lesson plan says to begin with something else, I always start with the teachers in the pool song, the coach, whoever's leading the song, your teacher. They need to lead it loud enough to cultivate an atmosphere of participation. If you're not singing out the song that's going to make everybody else feel a little self-conscious, they might be the loudest singer. Unless you get a really good singer in your class, everybody's going to try to out-quiet the other person, and then you're close. It doesn't feel like an activity if there's not some active participation in it. So if you're a Tots teacher, be prepared to sing out loud. Take a moment to greet each child as you sing the welcoming song. Remember to introduce tryouts and makeups to the class when you come to them. It helps increase that feeling of people feeling welcome and familiar with the class. Always review the swim diaper policy. I know we talked about this in the training, but it is important to go over it at the start of class. That's the best time to get ahead of anybody who may have missed that. Make sure that you do that. So those are all important things to incorporate in the start of your class. Tadpole Tots training, water safety, bullet number 4. Water safety, especially with younger children, is a highly debated topic among swim professionals. There are swim professionals that are very invested in what's like an infant self-rescue program, and there are swim professionals that are invested in early swim teaching categories. There are swim professionals that are more in line with the American Pediatric Association that says that kids proceed with caution with kids under 5. It's at 5 years old is probably the best age to start swim lessons, and there's been all kinds of debate on what's the best age to start and what's the most benefit. Why teach your young children to swim, and does it really add to their water safety? Well, statistically speaking, especially the younger the kids are, their ability to swim is one of the least important statistics in near drowning or drowning incidents. And so, as a program, we believe that one of our greatest obligations for teaching young children to swim is to also educate their parents on water safety and what the most important factors are. Statistically speaking, the most important factors are fourfold. The number one most important factor in water incidents, related drowning incidents, or near drowning incidents, the number one relating factor is that a child will gain unsupervised access to water. In other words, an inadequate fence around a pool, a parent who left their child unattended in water, a group of parents who were supposed to be supervising, but rather than having a supervision strategy, all they had was a number of adults. That's the number one factor, is unsupervised access to water. And the second factor is related to that. It is a poor supervision strategy. In other words, I mentioned about a group of adults. If a person is hosting a swim party and they invite your child to the party, you're going to ask them, what is your supervision strategy for the pool? And if their answer is, oh, we're going to have plenty of adults at the party, that's not a supervision strategy. If they answer, we're going to have a designated pool watcher at all times, we're going to have somebody who's going to be sitting watching the pool as their primary responsibility, and we're going to take turns with the adults at the pool, that's a supervision strategy. Or we're hiring a lifeguard, that's a supervision strategy. And that's an important thing that a lot of parents don't think about, the fact that they, for their own private party, could hire a lifeguard for probably the same cost they're going to spend on food and drinks, and make sure that they're ensuring everybody's safety for that cost. So supervision strategy, that's the second factor. The third most important factor is in these near drowning or drowning incidents, there isn't a person on scene who knows CPR. person's chance or a child's chance at survival of a drowning incident or near drowning incident, it diminishes by 10% for every minute that CPR is delayed from their rescue from the pool. They've been drowned unconscious. So even if the fire department responded within 5 minutes of a call that was given immediately after a child was discovered or went unconscious in the pool, that still would be only a 50-50 chance of survival over the fact that if someone on the scene knew CPR, that they could administer right away. Those three factors are more important than the fourth factor, which is for the child to know and practice swim safety and have swim skills. As a swim school, I believe it is important to help people understand that it's not possible to waterproof a child, to make a child drown-proof, to make a child that will always turn over and float if they fall in the pool, because if a child fell in the pool, even if they would have remembered to do that, if the pool's too cold, there's only a certain amount of time they're going to be able to be conscious anyway. There's only, if they hit their head, there's not likely they're going to remember to flip over and float. There's a lot of other factors that are involved in situations that make it a false sense of security for a parent to believe that they're going to bring their child to a level of swim skill where they no longer have to worry about their child around or in water. That's just a false sense of security. So water safety is one of the most important services we do. So we include water safety tips in every one of our swim classes with our Tadpole Tots training. And be sure that you're going over this in the lessons with your parents in a clear, factual way. For the next few topics, we're going to talk about skill development in class. We're going to do it a little briefly because we're going to have a whole separate training on skill development for our Tadpole Tots class. But it is important to mention the groups. So every class incorporates skills for kicks, strokes, breath control, floating, and swim safety. For kicks in class, we're going to do skills with kickboards. We're going to do skills at the step for kicking. We're going to do skills that help them get in a horizontal position for kicking. And the main kind of kicks we're going to try and instruct with our Tots class is the alternating legs kicks. Kids might naturally do a frog kick or the flutter kick, but we're going to focus on flutter kicks for the Tots class. Before we get into the skills for the class, one of the most important things to remember is the way the class is structured is based upon a philosophy or principle. And that philosophy and principle is that it's possible for young children to learn to swim. For your 18-month to 3-year-old to be able to acquire skills that will allow them to have the breath control and the motor coordination to move themselves through water and to be able to keep themselves from inhaling or taking water into their airway. That's the assumption, is that it's possible for them to learn to swim. Their technique obviously is going to be appropriate for their body size and for their developmental stages, but it is possible for a young child to learn those things, to be able to control their breath and their movement, to be able to move through water without taking in water, and learn to swim. Okay, strokes. Swim strokes, we go ahead and teach primarily a front crawl movement or dog paddle movement. We just call it forward swimming. They're usually in the Tots class, or noodle swim when they're using a noodle to help them out with that. That's because technically they're not really going to be able to accomplish like a front crawl stroke or a breaststroke, so we call them different names in the class. For breath control, we use a lot of different activities to try to encourage a child to get their face in the water and understand that they can't breathe in when they're underwater. They breathe in when their head's up, they can't breathe in when their head's down. So they will blow bubbles or hold their breath depending on the activity, but basically helping them understand and learn breath control. We don't, as a general rule, use, or as a general habit, For our program, we don't use the blow in the face and dip them underwater and blow in their face and dip them underwater. We don't object to or prevent the parents from using that technique, but it's not one that we generally use because it's not an infant swim class. We're not conditioning the kids to swim. We're helping them learn to swim. And although that initial understanding and ability to do that has a slightly longer curve than just conditioning them, it's a more positive approach. And because they actually understand what they're doing and how to do it, and they actually accomplish it. It's not a reflexive thing, and it's not a conditioned response that's going to wear off over time. It's a thing that they're going to actually acquire as a skill, so they'll be able to do it, which would be more permanent, such as like language development, things like that. So that's really our approach to breath control. Helping them learn breath control rather than conditioning them for breath control. Floating is a similar thing. We understand that part of how kids learn is a little bit of conditioning. So the one thing we're helping them understand is that they can relax in a backward-leaning position. They have to be able to do that before they're going to be able to trust leaning backwards in the water. And so it's important to help the parents understand not to force them into floating. That's definitely not relaxing. So we teach a lot of different approaches to floating, but primarily utilizing the parent as a means of support for the child. And the more somebody's supported, the more they relax, the more likely they're going to get in the correct position. Also encouraging the parents to take their time and take steps that are appropriate for their child. Floating doesn't always look like floating when you start teaching it to a very young child. So it's important to encourage the parents to be patient with that process so their child will learn to float and be open to taking on the activities for that. At the end of class, it's important to have an ending for your class. We do the goodbye song for your class. We're going to have a whole separate video that's just going to show you the songs that we do in class. And the goodbye song is an appropriate ending. Encourage everyone to stick around so that they can sing for each child in the class and then say goodbye to everybody. At the after class, it's an appropriate time to make sure to touch bases with who needs skill charts, who needs photos, tell everyone they did a good job, remind them, of any upcoming dates or special events, and to tell them goodbye and that you'll see them again the next time. It's important to have a nice beginning and a nice ending and a way for the child to feel that official start and an official closure of class so they too will be cooperative for them and their parents. Sometimes, speaking of cooperative, the environment of the Tots class is set up so that the kids can play with equipment or do what they feel comfortable or confident with as long as that equipment is out and in the pool. If you start requiring everybody to participate exactly in what's going on that you're doing, then that's going to start to rub off onto the parents. They're going to feel like they need to force their child to do one thing and not another thing. Then it creates a different dynamic for the child, which is opposite of that original philosophy of being child-directed. So when it comes time to clean up things, for instance, if you're going to change from doing scoops to doing diving friends, for instance, you tell them if they're ready to put their scoops away, they can put their scoops away. Otherwise, it's okay with you if they hold on to them while we start the next thing. That helps parents not get in fights with their kids over putting stuff away. And at the very, very end of class, lots of times you're doing diving friends before the very end, and they want to hold on to the Tigger or whatever, or Donald Duck. I sometimes will tell the parents it's okay if they hold on to that until they're done rinsing off, and then they can say goodbye and put the toy away before they go, as long as they can do it before they go. Most of the time, the parent's able to then put the toy away when the child gets distracted or something. It's not a big fight for them, because you don't want the beginning or the end of the class especially to be a fighting time, although you want to discourage the parents from struggling with power conflicts with their child. Any power struggles in class, you want to try and help the parent avoid those. But especially the beginning and ending, because those tend to be the most memorable parts. At the beginning of class, if they're in a power struggle, it sort of sets a bad tone for the class. And at the end of class, if they're in a power struggle, it's sort of as what they remember when they go away. So you want them to go leave on good feelings and come in on good feelings, and that way you're more than likely to have those feelings ride through class. Most of all, have fun, enjoy being in the moment. Remember that you have a teaching opportunity with your students, and to help educate parents on water safety and bring your love of swimming and appreciation for swimming to those parents and their children.